Welcome to the Michigan Outdoors Report podcast, your weekly escape into the world of hunting, fishing, and everything wild in between. Whether you're deep in the woods, out on the water, or planning your next adventure, you're in the right place. So let's gear up and get out there.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Michigan Outdoors Report. I am joined tonight by my co-host, Dennis Poet from Southeast Michigan. Dennis, what are you up to down there in the coconut country?
Well, not picking coconuts. Not a whole bunch lately, man. I've had stuff breaking all over the place and busy working and doing what I can. So I haven't really had much time to get out in the last week. And man, am I itching. I'm itching to get out. Went out today and shot some drone footage at Belleville Lake and seen all the guys out there ice fishing. And just wishing I was there. But hopefully to get out this weekend and get a line wet.
Yeah. I am ashamed to admit I have not been out ice fishing yet this winter. That's probably, you're gonna have to cut my shirt tail or something for that.
Yeah, you're in the land of the ice.
I am, and we do have ice over Keweenaw Bay now. There's a whole bunch of guys up there. Tip Up Town is in full swing. Sounds like they're getting some cohos, some Lakers, some whitefish, just kind of the gamut. Guys have been doing all right on smelt with teardrops. So I gotta bribe a buddy of mine to take me out there and maybe get me on some whitefish. My wife loves to eat whitefish, so I could earn some brownie points if I came home with some fresh Lake Superior whitefish. But yeah, I'm like you, Dennis. I just been nose to the grindstone in the middle of building a brand new kitchen table, like a farm style table and benches for my wife. And of course, the deer business just never stops. That's done to dark every day. But yeah, paying attention to some of the photos that are submitted by our followers this week, looks like there's a lot of folks getting out and having some really nice success on the hardwater this week. Saw a couple of dandy northerns there, a couple of dandy walleyes. It's great to see folks enjoying the outdoors. Well, this evening, we have a special treat for you. With us tonight is the founder of Let 'Em Go, Let 'Em Grow, Mr. Lincoln Roan. How are you tonight, Lincoln?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. We really appreciate you joining us and giving your time to us. And hopefully at the end of this show, our listeners can walk away maybe a little better informed and maybe a little more encouraged about where we're headed in Michigan. So why don't you lead off for those of our listeners that might not know your organization or your name? Who is Lincoln Roan? Who is Let 'Em Go, Let 'Em Grow? What's your history in the state of Michigan, Lincoln?
So, my history in the state of Michigan, I was born and raised here in the Grand Rapids area, a small town called Hudsonville. And I have hunted in Michigan since I was 10 years old. My family owns 160 acres, and my dad owns 160 acres in Newaygo County. And so that's where I cut my teeth hunting. I've been very fortunate to have that, my whole life. So I'm pretty passionate about, the hunting industry in Michigan. And so I founded the Let 'Em Go, Let 'Em Grow Facebook group about 10 years ago, roughly. And I was just a regular hunter in Michigan that was just tired of the lack of any quality deer in this state, and didn't seem to matter where I went. It was the same business. And so I started the Michigan Deer Hunters Let 'Em Go and Let 'Em Grow Facebook group, and it started out. I was super excited when we hit our first 1,000 members. And I kind of, at that point, got involved with the antler point restriction process. I was on the board of the Lower Peninsula Deer Management Initiative. And got involved with that and working with the same thing that you're doing now, with working with the department and the NRC to try to get some different regulations implemented in the state to try to, number one, protect young bucks and get a little bit better age diversity in our herd and manage our herd on a larger level, a larger scale. And we kept growing and growing and growing, and it was kind of one of those, almost, it was my viral moment. Like we just kept growing, and we said about 46,000 members right now. All of us in that group pretty much have one thing in common, and that is we want better deer hunting in Michigan. A lot of us have different ideas and different, ways of getting what we feel, would be to get to that point. But we've all been very involved in that process, and so I'm familiar with what what you got going on right now. I've been at dozens and dozens and dozens of NRC meetings. I've sat on the R3 committee, which is the recruitment, retention, and reactivation. That was kind of the same deal as the DAT team back then. And that was initiated by the natural resource, or excuse me, by the commission. And so I sat on that panel for a couple of years, and became more and more frustrated along the way, and continue with that frustration, unfortunately. So I've got a lot of time and energy invested in Michigan deer hunting, and my business. I own Packer Max Cul-de-Packers, and we have a food plot seed line called 52 Outdoors, and I sell deer hunting properties as well. So my livelihood literally depends on a healthy deer hunter population and a healthy deer herd population. So it doesn't sit well with me, over the last decade, losing 200,000, potential deer hunters. And that trend is continuing, unfortunately, for the reasons why why we're here tonight, why we're going to talk tonight. So long and short, that's who I am and where I came from. So
that's quite a journey. And, my hat is off to you and the others that have gone before me and been through the ringer and put your pound of flesh in the pot. I thank you for that, for your service to Michigan hunters, to the resource, and to the state of Michigan.
Appreciate that.
As I have become keenly aware during the time I've been doing this, it is a thankless job, and it is the lowest paying double overtime employment I think I've ever had.
That is a fact. That is a fact.
But that being said, you talked a little bit about, kind of vested interest. Lincoln Roan, the man. I mean, you're obviously very interested in hunting. You're very well educated, very well versed in deer management, habitat, all those things. What does Lincoln Roan like to do outside of deer hunting? Do you have family? You coach T-ball? What's the softer side of Lincoln Roan?
So I am a proud papa. I have 13 grandkids and number 14 on the way, and I have 6 children. So outside of deer hunting, that keeps me and my wife extremely busy. Between my business, the kids, grandkids, the deer hunting that I've kind of crawled back into now. I've been kind of off the scene for a little bit, but that's pretty much what keeps me busy. We spend a lot of time with family. Family is very, very important to me. I call it my circle of trust. and that's off deer hunting. That's what I do. So.
Well, and I'm sure the same is true for you that it is for me, and that family is part of what drove me to get involved so passionately. Because
Absolutely.
I look at my sons, I worry what future they inherit from us.
Yep.
And I knew that if I didn't get involved, and I didn't get involved deeply, that my sons might never have what I had.
Yeah.
And to me, that was an unthinkable tragedy. I think
Yep.
every young man should grow up having what you had, what I had, the woods
Yeah.
and waters of the great state of Michigan and all the bounty within.
Yep.
So, we talk big picture that, we do what we do for our hunting heritage and for the people of the state of Michigan, but there's a very real, very accurate portion of that it's our children, it's our family that drive us.
That is probably the most accurate statement that could be made, and that's why I piled in hardcore, is because I wanted better for my kids and my grandkids, and I'd like to shoot a few nice bucks here too at some point, but I mean, that was the main driver, was my kids and my grandkids. So
well, I'm going to give our listeners a piece of juicy gossip here to just kind of kick the gas can into the fire. And I'm going to share a fun fact. Lincoln and I have over the last couple of years communicated quite a bit. Not necessarily, 5 days a week, but fairly steady throughout the year. We would talk on deer management issues. We would bounce things off of one another. And Lincoln and I have become friends and colleagues in the deer world. And Lincoln is a man whom I've come to respect immensely.
Likewise. Thank you.
But it wasn't always so. And, there was a time where Lincoln and I don't know, if we found each other in a parking lot, it might have got ugly. It was that bad at one point. We were both very passionate, very outspoken men with big opinions and perhaps big egos. I'll say that quietly.
Yeah.
And
personalities.
Yeah. And we butted heads hard. We had some knockdown, drag out Facebook arguments, much to my shame today. But, I guess that's where I want to start. We are Exhibit A for what is going on in the deer world right now. There's talk of buck regulations and proposed changes from the DAT. The internet is absolutely burning with opinions and passion and conflict and argument and nastiness. And it's ugly.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts there, Lincoln?
Well, kind of going back to our I think that had we not gone through kind of what we went through, I don't know that we would be as, kind of as connected as we are, if that makes sense. Like through our battles, I think we gained a lot of respect for each other. And, I realized how passionate you were or are. And, I think likewise with you and me. And so, the thing is it's like everybody has their version of what needs to be done to fix Michigan. Okay. I've seen a podcast recently that somebody did, and the dude, had all of his 2 cents worth. Well, while great ideas, some of them people just don't understand the process of getting changes made with the DNR and the NRC. And they are, you talk about a close-knit group. Like, I feel like, one doesn't move without the other. In history anyway. I have been threatened. I have been called every name in the book. I have been
that t-shirt.
Yeah. And people will downright want to throw down with me over deer hunting. And I'm like, listen, you are more than welcome to. This is through all of the research and all of everything we know about what this state needs and has and does and the different demographic. This is the route we have decided and our group has decided we're going to go. And if you don't like it, that's completely fine. I respect that. It's just like you can vote for whoever you want to. I respect your right to vote. I don't always agree with maybe what somebody votes, but at the same time, if you don't like the route we're going, by all means, feel free to start your own group, to start engaging the DNR, can start to engage the NRC, start to go to meetings, and start to dip your toe in that pond. And I promise you, after about 4 months, you're gonna go, what the heck is going on? And how, like, am I right?
Oh,
Probably
you are
the
100%
first
accurate.
4 months. So it's not always just because somebody says, hey, we need one buck rule, we need antler point restrictions, we need to move the gun season date, we need to eliminate crossbows, we need to blah blah blah. That doesn't mean anything
Just
for you
fix
to
it.
just to
Fix
say
it.
it. Right. Just do it. Just fix it. Well, okay. Some of this stuff was going to potentially, it turns out maybe not now, but I mean, we're talking about getting legislative action. We're talking about, I have, if you'd have told me through this whole thing that I would have state lawmakers on my cell phone, on speed dial, and in literally, um, in both houses, both chambers, DNR, NRC. I speak regularly to the NRC members. I would have just told you you're nuts. Like, but that's what happens. You start digging in,
Mhm.
and so it is so much more complicated than meets the eye to try to get something constructive done. And the other thing that happens is so many times through my 10 years or 12 years of doing this, I have been led to the water to get a drink. Here you go, Link. Drink this water. Oh yeah, we poured gasoline in it. So but go ahead and drink it. You know
So
what?
you got,
It like I've been lied to. I've been backdoored. I've been, we were in 2019 right to the day of the vote on the commission. We were assured that we had 4 votes. We got a aye or a yay, and the 4th vote went nay. And I looked at a gentleman that was pretty invested in this, and I said, I freaking told you. And I got up and walked out and left the meeting. So,
Yeah.
you know,
There
it,
is a very real, highly political component to this.
yes.
And I hate to say that, right? And as a sportsman and a devout proponent of Proposal G,
Mm-hmm.
it pains me to say it.
Yep.
But if you think Michigan deer hunting and Michigan natural resources, period, are not political, that's
You are
because you
wrong.
don't understand what's going on.
Yes.
And
100%.
it's not as simple as walking in a bright-eyed, patriotic man with big ambitions for making it better and simply fixing it. That's not how it works.
No.
There's a lot of
I was wondering
process.
what was taking you so long.
There's a lot of process. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of agencies, entities, organizations, stakeholders, private individuals, and everybody's leveraging whatever they can to facilitate an outcome that's desirable to them. And that
Yep.
kind of brings me to the point, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Lincoln. All across the state of Michigan, the problem, in my opinion, for many, many, many years in the state of Michigan is that we have managed for the satisfaction of the hunter and not for the benefit of the resource. What's your opinion?
That is absolutely correct. If I hear the word opportunity one more time out of one of the department's mouths, I'm gonna puke. Like I want everybody to have an opportunity, but at the same time, we can't manage our resource so that just because I'm going to say this, just because you bought a deer license does not mean you are owed a deer. The only thing you are owed is the ability to hunt that deer. That is it. And so
I agree.
So, I think too long they have it to, like you said, you have all these user groups. I'm using my hands and I know that nobody can see me, but except for you guys, but like you have all these user groups, you have the NDA, you have our group, you have the UP groups, you have the bear hunt, even the bear hunters were taken into consideration in some of this stuff. Like, okay, there's all these different user groups, all these different stakeholders. You have insurance companies, you have businesses, you have all this rigmarole going on. And at the end of the day, the deer get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
I mean, they just do. And, it's very unfortunate because that's what we're grinding against right now is the deer getting lost in the shuffle. And, it does sadden me that, that it is to this point because, we have such an incredible resource here. And I mean, Michigan can pump out bucks like no other. I mean, I am here to tell you right now, I've hunted Ohio, I've hunted Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin, Saskatchewan. And there's not one thing that any of those states or provinces offers that Michigan can't have or can't do. And even in the Farm Belt, even in northern Michigan, I'm here to tell you, if we can get some age on these deer, maybe we're not shooting 180s, but I'm here to tell you, we could consistently put, 145s to 150s on the ground consistently if we could get them, some age diversity in our age structure and older age class bucks. We could do it hands down. It is a travesty when there are more bucks shot in the state than does.
So if we can pause there for just a second, you'll recognize the talking point as soon as I say it, but I just want our listeners to hear the rebuttal. You guys need to stop trying to make Michigan, Iowa, and Ohio, and Illinois, because we're not those states. What would you say to those people?
I would say, why is there tens of thousands of hunters that live in the state going to those other states? Why are they leaving the state? And nobody can ever answer that question that has that rebuttal.
Here's what I always
we all know why.
I always rebuttal this way. I'm not trying to make Michigan Iowa. I'm trying to make Michigan the best version of Michigan it can possibly be.
That couldn't have been said better. Like,
that's my goal.
Right.
Now, here's where we get to the really contentious part of the conversation, and I'm sure anybody that knows us both has been waiting for this all night long. Everybody's got different ideas about what that looks like, about how we reach better age structure, more balanced sex ratios. There's 1,000 different ideas as to how we achieve it. And that's where we as hunters really start to divide. We can agree, well, yeah, status quo sucks. This is terrible. We got to change.
Yep.
But then when we start moving towards change, we start eating each other.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, and we've seen it for many, many years in the state of Michigan, the fork in the road, the gladiator match in the arena, if you will, is APR'S versus $1.
Yep.
And everybody's ready to go to fisticuffs.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say I've been a lifelong supporter of OBR because that would be untrue, but I've certainly done a lot of research and listened to men far smarter than I. And I think very much that's a good direction to head. And of course, you're aware the DAT is recommending a $1 rule statewide for Michigan this year.
Yep.
And anybody that knows you and let them go, let them grow, they know that you have been very devout and very, very passionate in your support of APRs over the years. So where do we go, Lincoln? I mean, what makes sense to you?
So here's the thing. So for a decade, I was APR'S, combo tag. And one of the reasons it was always a combo tag is because we were led to believe that the act, I forget what the act number is, states that the DNR had to offer, or the NRC had to offer 2 buck tags. That's why, and we were not in any position to go through legislative action to have that changed. So that's why keeping the combo tag, we had to limit people's ability to shoot young bucks. And that's why we were so hell-bent on APRs. So as time went on, I have said it to many people. I would love to see a $1 rule with an antler point restriction, but we can't do that because I wish I knew the act right off the top of my head. I just sent a bunch of verbiage to one of the commissioners about it, but so without getting, that's why I was so hell-bent on APRs. And I've always been given a lot of information by people far smarter than me, as you said, that we don't need $1 rule. And all the data said, when we had $1, it didn't work for a decade. Well, that data is old. And I know I'm going to get some pushback on this, but we're not I want to say this. The Let 'em Go, Let 'em Grow Facebook group has grown to 46,000 members. Okay. We've not been successful in getting any kind of change in regulation. However, what we have done, if we have opened people's eyes, and I talked to Commissioner Walters today. I said, one thing that if I throw, and you saw it with my live feed, if I throw a pebble in that water, it spreads like wildfire. So we have far-reaching, way farther than our 46,000 members. And so we have changed people's mindset on selective harvest, on habitat management, on deer management. So that's one thing that I do hang my hat on. And that's why I am saying, okay, we have all this old data. We're not the same hunters we were 10 years ago. Not to mention, we have 200,000 less hunters than we had 10 years ago. Okay. So we don't have any proof that $1 is not going to work today. What I think, and again, this is just based off what I have been through for the last 10 years, all the data that has gone through my brain. If we could do a $1 rule and add a regional specific antler point restriction to that, I believe that we will have a better diversity of age structure. We'll have a better age structure. As you and I talked about, the average hunter wants 1.5 deer. They can shoot their buck. It's got to have 3 points on a side in zone 1 and 2. And in zone 3, it would have to have 4 on a side. They then can shoot their antlerless with that combination license to get their half a deer. I know you can't shoot half a deer, but you get my point.
If you're using a 300 win, you get half a deer.
Yeah. Right.
Or Ford pickup.
So, so I think that it would slingshot us into this within within 2 years, I don't think that you would hear one single person complain.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't believe they would. I mean, who, at the end of the day, Jordan and guys, like, the guys that say horns don't matter, well, they kind of do. They kind of do, because I'm here to tell you, if you put a 10 point and a spike horn standing right next to each other, the 10 point dies every time. So they do kind of matter. And then that 10 point is going to be put in the back of the truck. It's going to be drove to all the buddies' house. People are going to celebrate it. And the spike horn is going to be dragged into the back shed and cut up and thrown, his horns thrown in a box. And you talk to me about marketing. Guys have marketed. We do it. I mean, I sell my product based on, I don't sell my product based on a field full of spike horns.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
big bucks sell. People, I don't know of one person that wakes up opening morning in anticipation and going out and sitting in the woods and without the anticipation of a big mossy horn walking up out of the swamp.
Sure.
I
You
mean,
know, and I think you're making an
you know?
excellent point that, you know, Michigan, really, if we want to boil it down this simple, what we need to do better and what other states are presently doing better than we are, which is why we're losing hunters, we need to put a quality product on the table that the
Yes.
consumer wants to purchase.
Yes.
Because ultimately, a hunter votes with his wallet.
Yep.
That's the bottom line.
All day long.
Now, right now, some of our listeners' heads are exploding because they're going, see, all these buck regulations, these are a bunch of trophy hunting buttholes. That's what's driving this whole thing. Trophy hunters.
No, we're not.
I'm gonna caution people going down that road. That is not what this is about.
Nope.
Our conversations, me and Lincoln, or the deer advisory team, or myself and commissioners, myself and the department, myself and the rank and file hunter, my conversations never ever center around we need to make bigger racks.
Oh.
My conversations are always driven by putting herd health at the forefront. Well, what does herd health mean to Jordan Hoover? Well, it means I want herd numbers within carrying capacity of the land. I want balanced age structure. I want balanced sex ratios. And those are the foundation stones of a healthy herd. I don't care if you're in Texas, you're in Nebraska, you're in Maine, or you're in Ohio. Those are the three core foundation stones that matter. And when we attend to those needs properly, the result is mature and trophy class animals.
Exactly.
That is an outcome. Okay. That's not the driver. That is a byproduct. That's icing on the cake.
Yep.
What's your thoughts, Lincoln?
So the other thing that you get in that, when you have, we are in if all you got to do is look at the reports, we over harvest bucks. So we have too many does. We're over harvesting bucks. These poor bucks that are left are running themselves into the ground, trying to breed all these does, and that is not good. They're stressed through the winter. They're literally chasing themselves to death, and you can't continue on that road. We have to start to lessen our buck harvest and increase our doe harvest to get that sex ratio in balance. And here I'm going to say one thing too that I learned from the juries. When they got hit with EHD on Terry's farm in Missouri, okay, that they lost a pile of bucks from EHD. They shot does that year because the sex ratio was so far out of bounds. Because EHD does discriminate for whatever reason. It seems to pick on bucks with bigger antlers, because if they get bit in those, there's blood pumping through their antlers, they get bit on those antlers and they got it. So that stuck with me. Like, okay, they lost all these bucks. You would think they would just like not shoot any deer, but they shot a bunch of does to try to get that back into balance, to a natural balance, because Otherwise, you're going to run into that same scenario. You're going to have all these bucks are going to be running around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to breed these does, and it's not good. Plus, you stretch that that rut cycle out. You have, instead of having a big dump of fawns in the spring at one time, within a week to 10-day period, you're spreading that out over a month. Those predators can pick those things out there. It's a whole lot easier.
Oh, that's my problem in the UP, I'll tell you.
So if we're spreading that out because our age structure or our sex ratios are so far off, and that was, I believe, your point with doe harvest in the UP. Am I wrong?
No, 100%.
Right. So, that in itself, and again, like, and I'm using this as an example, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but somebody pointed this out to me. They said, you practice what you preach. I said, what do you mean? They said, you were in Iowa this year. I posted a video. I passed a 165-inch 4-year-old. It's clearly a 4-year-old.
Better man than me.
I let it walk. And I shot a 5.5, probably 6.5-year-old 8-point that was 144 inches. I mean, I don't know what that's management. Right. I took out, an older buck that was never really gonna, that was probably as big as he was ever gonna get. And I let a absolute stallion go and shot this older age class buck. And again, I'm not patting myself, but that's what it means to me, for buck management and for herd management. And I'm going to tell you this too. I had the incredible opportunity to travel to Africa in 2024. And I'm here to tell you, watching their management philosophy of these PHs was I go beyond looking for old animals, because they know the importance of shooting old animals at or beyond their prime, and making room for the younger, healthier animals. As far as like my kudu, that thing's teeth wore level with its gums. My Cape Buffalo wore level with its gums. Never once did he say, wow, look at the horns on those. He said, that's old. That's an old kudu. He's got secondary growth.
They're hunting age.
Right. Only age. And so that was really cool for me to see also, because that was it. That's all that mattered, was age. Except for the zebra, he was looking for a little bit of, for beauty in the zebra too, because everybody wants a beautiful zebra, but that too, he said, that is an old stallion. That's the one I want you to shoot. And, again, teeth wore down. My Nyala, every single animal that I shot was an old animal. The Cape Buffalo, it was a cow, and her hips were showing. The bones in her hips, like that, we couldn't have shot it, but they were so excited, because that was like, we couldn't have shot a better animal. And so that was very telling to me also. That management philosophy. So that's kind of where my head goes with the one buck and the APR. And we're gonna advance the age structure of our herd. We're gonna have a more diverse age structure. And at the end of the day, he's just saying zone 1 and 2, a 6-point or a 5-point or one with 3 on one side is fair game. It's not, and at the end of the day, again, the first year, if you have to pass that deer up, you're going to be way happier with him the following year, because number one, he's going to have a bigger set of horns, which I don't care what anybody says. People like the horns, and you're going to get probably a third again as much meat. So,
right.
Well,
that's one of my big things too, when it comes to one buck. And I'm sure you can attest to having heard this at some point, Lincoln, is it's November 15th. It's 8:30 in the morning. And here comes the 5-pointer. pencil rack, year and a half old buck.
Mhm.
Got my meat buck.
Yep.
Now I'm going to wait for a good one.
Now I'm gonna wait for a big one. Yeah.
Right. And how
Okay.
many does that were 185, 195 pounds
That
got
they
a
watched
pass?
walk by. Right.
Right. And and that's where I'm at with one buck. It's people always come at me right away. They're like, well, Jordan, only 5%. 5% of Michigan hunters take a second buck. What does it even matter? Well, the first thing is,
I used to say that.
according to the Department of Natural Resources,
I used to.
we've got a 30% plus minus non-compliance rate with harvest reporting.
Mhm.
So it's actually not 5%. It's significantly more.
Yeah, it's
the other thing
definitely north of there.
Yeah. And I'll go out on a limb. I'll point the finger at us up here in the Great White North. We have a decidedly anti-establishment view to our communities, and I think there's a little less likelihood of reporting here as well. But that said, the whole 5% thing, let's just take that at face value and say it is flatly 5%. We're not going to debate that number. Well, here's my counter. There's a lot of people who have made a lot of money investing in low interest CDs. You put $100,000 in a 5% interest CD for 10 years, you made some coin. It's not the immediate return on investment. It's the cumulative return on investment over time that makes the difference. Yeah. And that is where I think Michigan hunters go awry, whether we're talking about APR'S, whether we're talking about one buck, whether we're talking about another, buck regulation, is this ideology that there's going to be instant gratification. There's not. I don't care what regulation it is, you will not see instant gratification. Nope. It's taken a long time to make the mess that we're in. And it's going to take a little bit of time and investment and sweat equity to start to turn the ship. She's a big ship and she's going to turn slow. Yeah. But it's possible.
And what we need to do is start spinning the wheel to get the ship turning. And one buck again, I guarantee you that is going to affect people's harvest decisions to a certain degree. I promise you it will. If a guy, well, I love to hunt. Well, that's great. Then don't shoot that 105-inch 8-point. I mean, sit on your tag for a minute. There's nothing wrong with that. And here's the other thing. I promise you, sir, you'll be fine if you don't shoot a buck this year. I promise you, you'll be good.
My manhood's not going to shrink?
Nope. I'm not going to take your man card. I promise. I mean, You're going to be okay. My dad, holy cow, the old guard, man. He never shot a doe until about 5 years ago. Now I can't keep. Now I'm like, Dad, stop shooting does. He's like, but it's fun. I'm like, right. But he was. I got to get a buck. No, you don't. You don't have to. I promise you, be okay. So, that mentality, I believe, is starting to shift. And I truly believe that having one tag in your pocket is going to affect your harvest decisions. It just will. I mean,
going back to that little story there with the 5-pointer at 8:30 in the morning, November 15th.
Yep.
I mean, are there guys out there that are going to go, I don't care, I'm shooting that buck? Well, sure. There's that percentage of guys, and I'll admit that. But I'm not willing to say that that's a significant percentage.
Right.
I think a lot of guys are going to look at that buck and they're going to look at their watch and they're going to go, no, it's too soon.
Yep.
And they're going to let him go. And the next guy is going to do the same thing. He's going to look at his watch. No, it's too soon. And by the end of day one of rifle season, even a 5-point starts to get a little bit edgy, a little bit nervous, changes habits. Yep. Maybe you never get a shot at that buck again the rest of the season. Maybe you eat tag soup. I don't know.
Yep.
What I'm suggesting is that a one buck system is going to force the Michigan hunter to self-examine, to be introspective and consider the impact of their harvest choices. And that really is where deer management lives and dies. Everybody, is worried about the commission. They're worried about the department. What are the regs? What are the laws?
Yep.
Ultimately, the man or woman behind the trigger or behind the string is the deer manager.
Yep.
And the whole goal of these kinds of regulatory changes is to empower people and to help educate people to make better harvest decisions.
Yes.
And somebody is listening to that and they're reverse engineering my statement right now saying, well, Jordan, who the heck are you to tell me what I should or shouldn't shoot? No, I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'm not doing that. I'm saying shoot what you want to shoot, but I want you to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to consider the impact of your decision. And that's what that reg does.
Yep.
I
totally agree with that. And some of that's going to come down to us as well. And, educate and continuing to educate people, continuing to grow our numbers and continuing to get people on board. And, and I would love to see the department take part in this and set out an educational program and help people to understand the importance of what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even offered the department back then, I've even offered to, hey, Jordan, we had 3 events. I mean, we sold out events, 400 people, 450 people in Mount Pleasant. We always held them in Mount Pleasant, but we always had speakers there. I mean, we could blow the doors off some places, get people in, have some speakers come in, have people come in and talk to, help. The other thing that a lot of people don't understand too, with the quality of our bucks, and I've gotten more in tune with it, but just because you have 10 acres doesn't mean anything. Make 10 acres. If it's open hardwoods, you're probably not going to hold any deer. You might get a passerby, but just because you have a little bit of timber doesn't mean, excuse my language, but like, get out there and get, the chainsaw. Forget trigger finger control. Forget all this other crap. The chainsaw is probably the best tool that was ever designed for deer management.
Right. This message brought to you by Husqvarna and Steel.
Right. Like, I've got a Milwaukee, a cordless Milwaukee. It's my woke chainsaw. But I love the dang thing. Like,
so if it's woke, it don't work then.
Right. And get out there, do some work on your property, make it better, and think about your harvest decisions and think about a process. And sometimes it's a guess, but like, decide at the beginning of the year, after you start maybe getting trail cam pics and start seeing deer, how many does am I going to shoot this year? Mm-hmm. Or how many on our property this year? We decided we were going to shoot. Sometimes it's been as high as 8, sometimes it's been as high as 13. This year we ended up shooting 4 does this year, and that was early on. That was our goal, was 4 or 5 does off the property, and we shot 3 bucks, so three 3-year-olds, which is almost unheard of in Nuevo County on 160 acres. So, but we also spend a crap load of time, doing habitat improvements, planting food plots, blood, sweat, and tears to make our deer hunting better. We absolutely practice trigger finger control, and we went to a 1 buck system on our property this year. And guess what? I shot my 3-year-old beautiful 8-point. It was, and I always kind of live and die by the top 10%. Like, I'll take the top 10% of the bucks that I know walk on our property that I've gotten pictures of or seen, and those are the ones I target. Well, I had 3 that I could shoot this year, and I shot my buck on October 2nd. And guess what? I was happy with that. I was completely fine. I never hunted the property one time after that, except for I did shoot 2 does. Actually, I shot 3 does. So, and I was good with that. Both my boys shot 3-year-old 8 points. They were done hunting. So you'll get some of that, and they shot does. You'll get some of that through the process of a 1 buck system too. You'll start to lower as the season progresses. You're gonna lower the pressure on these deer, and some people are gonna say, well, our businesses in northern Michigan need that that second buck tag to keep guys coming back. But do they? Is it making that big of a difference right now to them? I don't think so. I don't think that being able to shoot that second buck is going to be that impactful on a guy's bread and butter. I don't think so.
Oh, I agree with you. One of the things I see pop up a lot, especially from passionate APR supporters, is show me the science of 1 buck. Prove to me with your data that we need to do this. And I always respond in one of 2 ways. And the first one is show me the science and the data that justifies a 2-buck system. Show me the biological benefits of the current system. Because nobody's happy. The herd's struggling. Where's your data?
Right.
Now, I'm going to say it right out loud. I've said it 100 times, but it bears repeating. If we go to a 1-buck system, if the commission implements that or some variation of it, be it OBR plus APR, whatever it is that they do, it is not a silver bullet.
Nope.
It is not going to, air quotes, fix Michigan. It is 1 step in a positive direction.
It's 1 lever pull of about 6 significant lever pulls that need to be made. So how we get to those next 5, I'm not sure, but we have to start pulling freaking levers, dude. Like, we have to. I just don't know how else to say it. I don't know how else to be politically correct in that. We have to start doing something, because we're not going to have enough hunters in this state. If we don't to shoot adequate deer, we're going to have a huge problem on our hands. If we lose another 100,000 deer hunters, it's going to be ugly. And it's been averaging about 15 to 20,000 a year.
Well, and this is where I'm going to say something that's going to upset some folks. I guess it's my turn, Lincoln. It was your turn last week, so I'm going to take one for the team tonight. A lot of hunters around the state of Michigan get real angry and real loud about the idiots on the NRC, air quotes, and how they're ruining Michigan hunting, and the cubicle rat, idiots in the DNR, the tyranny and all this. It's all about how the NRC and the DNR are solely responsible for destroying hunting in Michigan. And you know what I'm going to point out? There is 0 ownership in that statement of our role as the hunter and as the steward of the resource. 0 ownership. And that's a problem. Because ultimately, it does fall to us. They're not the king's deer. Those animals belong to the people of the state of Michigan. They belong to us. So how can we then point the finger of blame everywhere else and take absolutely no responsibility for our decisions? It blows my mind, Lincoln.
Yeah. On a macro scale, you are 100% correct. We are solely responsible, and nobody made you pull the trigger. Nobody. Right. So,
well, and I said it this way. A guy was chewing me out pretty good online the other day, and it was kind of the line of dialogue about how dare I, because I have all to say, apparently, how dare I take away his right to a second buck? How dare I? And I kind of thought to myself that, well, who told you $2 is your right?
Right.
It's not about you. It's about the resource. And That's one of the things that I like with one buck as well. And I'll be the first to admit it. This doesn't fit nicely into Microsoft Excel and get converted into pie charts, bar graphs, and data spreadsheets.
Mm-mm.
I don't know that you can articulate in a scientific way or in a mathematical way the influence that kind of a regulation can exert on hunter psychology. Call it social science if you want to. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But really, when we're talking about changing hunting in the state of Michigan, we're talking about changing culture first, because you can't change the hunting until you change the culture.
Right.
And really, that's what it comes down to, is the regulation itself isn't the change.
Mm-mm.
I'm hoping to facilitate change within us.
Mm-hmm. Well, and did you, through your DAT team, did you not have hours and hours and hours of testimony from neighboring one buck states?
Yeah, we had a very lengthy conversation with Dr. Tonkovich from Ohio. He was phenomenal. He's recently retired, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which was great because he could speak unapologetically and get right to the point, since he's no longer wearing green.
Right.
But yeah, it was great. It was eye-opening.
So I think my point with bringing that up is you guys didn't just willy-nilly pull this out of your butts.
No, not at all. And there was months of conversation, in the UP and the LP team with department staff. There was a lot of intense debate.
Yep.
It certainly wasn't something where, we just walked into the meeting one day and we're like, hey,
right,
let's just do one buck. Yeah, okay, I'm good with that. That's not how it went down.
Right. And again, that's why I brought that up, because so many people have said, well, where did they come up with this? Like, where's their science? Well, they listened to 50 hours, if I'm not mistaken, of testimony from these people who happen to be, I'm going to call them experts, because they've lived it. And, I just, like I said, you guys didn't just pull this out of your butts. This has been well thought out, and again, like you said, strategized, debated, put through the ringer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you guys ended. So I think another thing that I'd, like to bring up that I know has some traction with the NRC, and that is Rochelle's doe management chart.
Yeah, the antlerless DMU quota proposal. Yeah.
And maybe the numbers aren't exactly perfect, but I'm telling you, the concept is, and the way she has it laid out, I think is perfect. And again, you can tweak some numbers in these little areas when it's broke down into smaller units, but you can still buy a universal tag, but you have to go to, if you shot, and there, to me, it's still quite liberal. They're not, that map is not limiting your ability to fill your freaking freezer immensely, like with a ton of meat. We're talking three does in some of the Northwest areas, 5 in most of the southern areas, 4 in the mid range. And again, those numbers can be tweaked by the year, but I personally think that is something that they have to adopt, because
agree.
And I honestly think that the first year that they implemented the 10 doe tags, it hit me, and it was a psychological thing, Jordan. Like, we did not shoot any does that year.
Right, because you're worried neighbors on both sides are shooting 10.
Right. Yeah. I was convinced they were going to just, shoot every freaking deer out there and blah, blah, blah. Well, they didn't. And I think everybody thought that.
Right.
So we shot ourselves in the foot, so, but I think that map is very well thought out, very well done. And I think it definitely has some traction with the NRC right now. It's going to make, it's not even going to make that much more work for the department. I mean, it's really not going to make any more work for them, because all they got to do is approve those numbers, annually, I think. And, if you see a downward trend, then you can either do whatever, you bump it, or you can move it around a little bit. So
Yeah. And that's what I like about it is, and I know a lot of guys around the state of Michigan, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, we're drowning in does. I can't get enough people to kill does. There's does
Yep.
coming out of my ears." And then you
Mhm.
talk to another guy who might be 15 miles away, maybe. He's
Yep.
like, "Man, I've got like 2 does on my property. What are you talking about? We don't have all these does. We can't shoot does like that here."
Yep.
And neither one of them is inaccurate. And I'm
Exactly.
very excited to see a more DMU specific micromanaged approach to antlerless management, because we have to address that nuance. You can't
Yep.
broad brush antlerless management.
No.
And as well as I do, your doe harvest, I mean, you're dealing with the dial on the nuclear reactor there, because does govern population. And if you go too far, you're going to pay dearly, pun intended.
Yep.
And I just love the idea of having a more responsive management plan for antlerless deer. I love the idea that if whatever EHD comes through and wipes out an area, well, guess what? All those antlerless quotas are reduced.
Can be tweaked. Yep.
In the UP, we get a monstrous winter. Well, guess what? We're going to turn that dial down.
Yep.
And I think the public will respond favorably to the department when they see the department proactively managing the herd.
With a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
With a good reason. So I like I said, I wanted to bring that up because I think that is going to be kind of a key to moving forward with this management program.
So while we're on antlerless, I want to throw out a few things here. Piece of information from the department. 80% of Michigan hunters do not shoot even one doe.
Yep.
80% do not shoot a single doe. And we talk about, what air quotes, what's the problem in Michigan? Well, I'll repeat that again. 80% of Michigan hunters do not shoot a single doe.
Yep.
And when you continue year after year after year after year to slaughter your bucks, and you fail to have adequate antlerless harvest, you are on a collision course with deer Armageddon.
You're right where we are.
Right. And I always like to point this out to people. It's called deer management. It's not buck management.
Right.
It's deer management. You got to do both.
Yeah.
And I for one have been troubled by the way our hunting culture in the state of Michigan has devalued the doe.
Yep.
We treat them like rats.
Yep.
Like they're second rate, a doe. And it's funny because I hear a lot of guys, especially, more passionate hunters, like, well, yeah, I only target mature deer. Well, they don't mean deer. They only target mature bucks.
Right.
When's the last time you heard a story of a buddy who said, man, I've got this 10-year-old doe that I'm trying to kill. She's a monster. You don't hear that. You don't hear that ever.
Nope.
And what's the smartest deer in the woods? The matriarchal doe who's been around and seen it all.
Yep.
You kill a matriarchal doe, that's an accomplishment.
And I'm going to throw this tidbit of information out on doe harvest, because this was a study done on Turtle Lake Club up in the Northeast, the Northeast, 26,000 acres. So it's a pretty good sized control area. And over 20 years, and I've been to 3 of these necropsies up there where they shoot a bunch of does. They have a quota, they bring them in, and they do autopsies on them. Okay. And it is incredible that yearling, 2-year-olds, and 3-year-old does, 80% will spit at least one button buck, sometimes 2.
Mm-hmm.
You start getting 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-old does, they're spitting out way, as a percentage, a way higher percentage of doe fawns.
Mm-hmm.
So what their whole philosophy is to target older does, shoot any doe is still good, but if you can get in there and start targeting these older does, that is really going to help you with the output of bucks in your herd as well. So, and
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, it's just antler point restrictions is nothing more than a numbers game. 1 buck rule is nothing more than a numbers game. And so is doe harvest. I mean, it is. It's all a numbers game, and we just got to figure out how to play that game a little more effectively, as a whole, and like I said, continue to educate people, continue to to make shooting does cool. Obviously within reason. I did get some pushback in the Northeast guys were pretty adamant that their area cannot sustain, everybody getting a doe tag. And I said, well, they can get 10 now. So what's the difference? They're
Right.
just they're gonna get one by default. That doesn't mean they got to shoot it. I mean, it really doesn't. But so that didn't hold weight with me. Like, they can shoot 10. So have an additional doe tag, either an either sex tag and a doe tag is not going to be the issue.
Right.
So,
well, and I get frustrated too, because I've heard some guys push back and they're like, well, you're going to make me pay $40 for a combo tag and give me a doe tag I don't want. Well, maybe the problem is you don't want it. Let's start there.
right.
And we're back to the necessity of antlerless harvest.
Right.
But secondly, let's just talk about the cost. And I'll be frank. I'm tired of hearing the pours, right? Well, here you're going to drive people out of hunting if it's $20 more. Really? Are you
Listen,
kidding
man.
me?
Yeah, exactly. They'll run down to the corner store and pick up a case of Busch Light and not even think twice about it for $40. I haven't bought beer in 24 years, so I don't know exactly how much it costs, but I got to believe it's pushing $30 for a 30 pack. And
sure.
they don't even think twice about it. So don't tell me that being able to spend $40, you know what else we'll do? And I've told people this, I will start a freaking foundation and start taking donations, and we'll buy tags for people that can't afford them. 100%.
And I guess that's kind of where I land, and this might be a little cold to say, but I'm like, if $20 is going to break you and push you out of hunting, you should probably be at work and not in the woods.
Yeah, I just, and I don't want to sound like a pothole either. So I do understand that there are going to be some people that $40 is going to hurt, and it's going to be, it's going to be painful, but I just don't think that at the end of the day, again, if that $40 is gonna bankrupt somebody, then I would more than happily buy their tag for them. Like, I just would. And so I don't know. I don't think the cost is, and honestly, if you look at inflation, those tags should be $200.
Well, and at $40 nationally,
yeah,
we're still on the very bottom end of. I mean, you travel out of state, what things cost in these other states.
You know how much? So my Illinois tag, I got a bow tag and a gun tag. My bow tag was $475. My gun tag was $325. My Iowa tag was north of 500. My Missouri tag was, $275. Like, I mean, we are well within. Those are non-resident. So I guess and I don't even know what Michigan's non-resident is, but the point is that the tags, the cost of these tags is not anywhere near what it should, inflationary period should be. And so I just, if $40 is a barrier for you to hunt, then, we'll figure it out, man. I guarantee you I can find 50 people to throw in, some money and buy some of these people some tags. My heart does go out to, if that is a barrier, then by all means we'll figure it out. So,
well, to wrap this back around, go ahead, Dennis.
I would say $40 shouldn't be a problem. I mean, with all the
No.
gear and everything else that you
Oh,
buy,
yeah.
that you're buying, that's the most expensive way to grocery shop. And,
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes. I mean, oh my God, I don't even want to start to add up the amount of money that I spend on deer. It is obscene.
Well,
you love
wrapping
it to death,
this
you'll find a way to get that $40.
Right. Exactly.
wrapping this back around, you know, some folks are still probably scratching their heads, and some folks out there might know our history, Lincoln, and they're going, okay, what's going on here? The APR guy and the $1 guy, and they're sitting at the same table and they're having a great conversation and they sound like they're agreeing with each other. And why aren't they having a fist fight? So what happened, Lincoln? Like, can you share for our listeners why you're willing to support this, being a devout APR guy?
Well, again, I look at the possibility there. History tells us over and over and over they're not going to do a combination tag with antler point restrictions on both tags. And I said it in that live feed. The Northwest 12 is an anomaly. I don't think that they intended for that to happen. They set the bar so high at 66%. They never thought they'd get it. Well, guess what they did? So then they put a sunset on the APR process. You can't even, or a moratorium. You can't. I don't even think right at this point. I don't think you can even run an APR process right now.
No.
So they're not going to do it. So what's next? What's next best in our quiver? And that is $1. And again, one of the reasons I'm supporting it is because I looked at our demographic today. I talk to thousands of hunters every year through my business, through the Let Them Go, Let Them Grow page. We're not the same hunters we were 10 years ago. We are not. And we're 100,000 less or 200,000 less. So to tell me $1 is not going to work on its own, I think that it's worth, I want an antler point restriction with it. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But I think it's worth going down the rabbit hole of a $1 rule and let's just see what throwing that lever does. And I just don't think there's going to be a negative. It's a far cry from where we're at right now. And I think
it's not status quo.
It's not status quo. And I think that as time goes on and we start to save $30,000-$40,000 annually, inject them back into the herd, we start focusing on doe harvest more. We start managing our deer herd as it should be managed, doing and encouraging people to frickin' get a chainsaw out and make their beautiful park of oak trees into some decent habitat. You know, take that responsibility and improve your hunting. If your hunting is terrible, try to do something about it on your own.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I think we need to have some common sense. I'm not going to say it because that's a liberal talking point, but common sense regulations that.
Right. Oh, I get you.
But
and
you know,
for me, I'm not unwilling to come to your side of the table either, Lincoln. You know, like some people have been puzzled. They're like, Jordan, you have been the most anti-APR guy on the face of the planet.
Yeah, you made my life very difficult for a couple of years.
They're like, how are you and Lincoln teaming up on this? Like, what happened to you, Jordan? I'm like, listen, I've never said there was no benefit to APRs. I'm just saying, let's take a piece of this and let's take a piece of this. And let's just see maybe if it works. If we end up with OBR plus APR, I'm not going to yell. Not one bit.
Yep.
I think that could work.
I think it could work really well.
I might even go so far as to say I think it could potentially work better than $1 alone.
Yep.
But I don't think either one alone is necessarily as effective potentially as the combination of both.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you know, if our listeners take away one thing from all the conversation that we've had tonight, I want you to think about where Lincoln and I started as passionate guys with big opinions who wanted change, and we were at each other's throats because I see a ton of it online right
Mm-hmm.
now. And it reminds me of us all those years
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
And you know what it came down to is putting the egos aside and going, okay, I really, really, really disagree with you, and you really, really disagree with me. But let's just sit down at the table and
Mm-hmm.
show each other some respect.
Yep.
You tell me why you believe what you believe. I'll tell you why I believe what I believe. Let's try to focus on the things that we have in common, because the reality is you and I had far more in common than we had apart.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the list goes on. I mean, yeah, exactly. And you know, it's kind of like the art of the deal.
Yes.
Okay. You come to the table, everybody's got their thing, and then guess what? Here we are. It is the art of the deal. And there has to be give and take, and for the betterment of our resource. And I think we're both smart enough to understand that. I'm not very smart, but I think I'm smart enough to understand that, you know, again, flipping that lever is going to have some impact. It might not be massive, like you know, they saw results with that in the Northwest 12 with APR'S. They saw a pretty substantial impact on that after the first year.
Mm-hmm.
It might take a couple of years, but I promise you, if we keep at it and if we only get $1, that's not even guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess I want to make that point too. Like, that's not guaranteed. Doesn't just because it's on the table doesn't mean anything.
100%.
It doesn't mean anything. Trust me, I know this because I've witnessed it. Just because it's on the table doesn't mean anything. And so if we get $1 and only $1, I think it might take a little more time, and I think it's going to take a little more prodding from you know, and I'm telling you, in deer hunting, peer pressure is a good thing. Honestly,
it is.
You know, I think it is a good thing, and I'm not saying to, you know, to beat people up because, you know, if they shoot a 4-point, but continue to educate people on selective harvest, and you know, we'll do our part too with our group. We have a big platform. I mean, you know, we have 40. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
46,000 deer hunters that are pretty much on the same page, wanting some sort of, you know, better quality bucks on the landscape. So continue educating people. We could have some big events that, I mean, we could sell out events, dude. Like, I can't even, I mean, if we had something up, and even if we went up to Gaylord and had it, you know, that'd be you guys coming down, us coming up. You know, we'll converge on Gaylord and have another summit, man. We'll have 500 people and just talk
I'm all for
freaking
it.
deer, you know. It'd be awesome. It really would be. And it'd be cool. It'd be really cool if we could do it and celebrate a change that has been made.
I am all about that.
That would be cool. And I've done several of them. We can, you know, we can plan it. I've got, you know, the Eventbrite. We can, you know, have a cover charge to cover food and all that. You know, open bar, whatever. So,
you know, I just want to again encourage people. You know, I never begrudge anybody their opinion, and deer hunters are extremely diverse, and the reasons that we hunt, the passions that drive us are often different. But in the end, I want everybody to be able to come together as you and I have, Lincoln, and say, hey, it's not about what I want. It's not about what you want.
yep.
Let's stand together for the future of the resource and our hunting heritage that we hold so dear in the state of Michigan. And let's put the egos aside.
Yeah.
Because it's not about being right.
No.
It's not about being right. It's
and
about getting it right for the herd.
right. And and on kind of on that whole thing with us coming together, like, I want to thank Jim Bogema, who we both know well,
Yep.
for him encouraging both of us, I believe, to just have a conversation. You don't have to love each other. You don't have to give each other bro hugs. Just have a conversation.
Mhm.
And after that conversation, things started to move and things started to gel, and I'd give you a big old bro hug when I see you and I finally meet you in person. So
yeah.
get ready.
Heck yeah.
And another thing, I never wanted to fight you because you kicked my Let's
Oh.
get that straight right now.
Well, something tells me I'd know I was in a fight nonetheless.
Yeah, I'd probably go down with a little bit of a fight, but
But Lincoln, I want to say thank you so much again for your years of service. And
absolutely.
I guess I'll share this. A while back, this was probably back in, what was it, last spring, I sent you a message. It was on Facebook. And I sent you a picture of the Capitol because I was in Lansing at the time.
Yep.
And I asked you, I said, do you have one more trip to the arena left in you? And you said, oh, man, you got to give me a minute. Let me think. And, I've watched you cautiously evaluate the landscape and talk to commissioners and do these things. And you've re-engaged. And it does me good to see guys like you re-engaging, and it gives me hope that we're also on the right track.
Yeah.
Because I know you lost the faith for a while, and I'm not bashing you for it. It was justified.
I was done.
It was justified.
Yep.
But I want all of our listeners to know and understand that right now in the state of Michigan, between now and May, we stand at a crossroads where we are going to boldly make changes and step forward in a new and positive direction, or we're going to double down on absolute calamity. And I don't think there's going to be any in between.
Nope.
It is a critical time in the state of Michigan for deer management. And I hope that in the next few months, there can be a lot of positive and productive conversation, collaboration between people and groups. And that in the end, we can all agree on one thing. We're going to make Michigan better come hell or high water.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. And, the level of civility, I think, is very important moving forward too, because, throwing our arms up and down and chanting at each other and being at each other's throats is not going to get us anywhere. And, have some, it's okay to disagree, but man, have some respect for the person on the other end, and just, talk it through, come to the middle and figure it out. And, if you go to the Michigan Deer Hunters, Let Them Go and Let Them Grow Facebook group, join it. We will post all of the commissioners' phone numbers and emails. And if you can't go to a meeting, they're going to be live streamed on DNR website now. You can call these commissioners. They are most of them are incredibly responsive. If I throw, and I'm going to call John out by name, if I throw John a text, I guarantee you he's going to get back to me. And it might not be that same day, but he will get back to me and answer any questions I have, talk stuff through with me. But I'll say that the commissioners, that's their job, is they will respond to you. They will listen to you. They may not always vote the way you want them to vote. Clearly I've been down this road 10 years, and but engage the commissioners seriously, because they're the ones that make the decisions. And if we can sway them in a positive direction, I think we all win. So,
and I'll take that one step further. I don't care if you rabidly disagree with me and the things that I've said tonight. I still want you to reach out to the commissioners.
yes,
I still want you to make your views and your opinions and your voice heard. It's critical. You don't have to agree with me.
right.
It goes back to what you said earlier about voting. I don't care which way you're going. Obviously, I have my personal views. I just want you voting.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
Well, Lincoln, thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us tonight and kick this can around.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the conversation so much, and I hope that our listeners did too.
I did too, and I appreciate you having me. And I think the more that we can get together, and the more that we can all come together, and we're going to make a difference, and it's going to be good. I look forward to this, and I know that I've been very upbeat about things in the past, but I've never felt better about a change than I do right now. So
I share that sentiment exactly.
So
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to Michigan Outdoors Report. I hope everybody is staying safe out there, enjoying the great outdoors, whether you're on the ice, on the snow machine, or on the skis. And we'll be back again with another episode of Michigan Outdoors Report.